I recently played Kirby in the Forgotten Land and thought about how unique Kirby is as a character. He's colorful and endearing, his copy abilities elevate gameplay sequences, and he has an incredible range that spans many genres. This led me to consider whether Nintendo's competition had a character that was similar to the Pink Puff. Xbox? Who am I kidding? PlayStation? Well, they have Sackboy, but despite people enjoying Sackboy: A Big Adventure, I think his best days are behind him. Then it dawned on me, what about Astro? Astro has a silent but charming charisma, he can transform to traverse his environment, also he has genre flexibility and already has a presence in the burgeoning technology that is virtual reality. Today, I want to take a look at Astro with one question in mind: could he be PlayStation's Kirby? Let's find out together. Kirby games have such a welcoming tone, and I think that's due to the fun music, the positive atmosphere, and let's be honest, Kirby is charming and cute as hell. HAL Laboratory translated the spirit perfectly into a 3D space in Kirby in the Forgotten Land, but doing so reminded me of another game. Halfway through my playthrough, memories of playing Astro's Playroom hit me like a ton of bricks. Now, I know Astro is a hard metal robot, but he's a charming hard metal robot. Everything from his emotive LED face to his killer dance moves and endearing idle animations have a lovely appeal. Exploring Astro's Playroom and stopping to interact with the environment constantly highlights this adorable character's sensibilities, even if he's punching everything to get a reaction. Speaking of which, the joyful ambience and cheerful mood that the environments and non-playable characters evoke is contagious. It makes you want to stop and smell the roses. I meticulously combed through the levels looking for collectibles and opportunities to interact with the world and its inhabitants, just like I did while playing Kirby in the Forgotten Land. This uplifting spirit is enhanced by the upbeat music and adorable audio playing through the entire experience. Whether it was the cute tinks of Astro's metal feet on the ground or the Sanguine soundtrack, I couldn't help but be in a good mood. It's kind of like wearing a cape. It's practically impossible to be unhappy while wearing a cape. Do you know who wears a cape? Astro. Astro wears a cape. If Team Asobi is able to continue evoking this endearing element in virtual reality games and 3D platformers, I think Astro could really become a household name, especially when you consider the growing popularity of virtual reality. Astro and his exuberance could be synonymous with virtual reality, at least in the console gaming space. But Astro's bubbly personality isn't the only similarity I noticed. Let's take a look at another parallel I noticed in both Kirby's and Astro's gameplay. If you set aside comparisons of Kirby's floating and Astro's laser propulsion for extending jumps, as well as the collecting of coins, the similarities of collecting figurines and artifacts, and the fact that both Kirby in the Forgotten Land and Astro's Playroom both have gacha machines, the introduction of mouthful modes creates a new parallel. Both Kirby in the Forgotten Land and Astro's Playroom feature transformative traversal. Kirby has always been able to inhale his enemies and copy their abilities, but that's more for general combat. I'll play devil's advocate for a moment to highlight that Astro doesn't have anything like this. He can utilize a bow and arrows, a pop gun, and other weapons found in the environment, but he doesn't absorb his foes to gain their powers like some sort of eldritch abomination. What Astro can do is find mech-like suits that allow him to navigate parts of the environment that he otherwise wouldn't be able to. If you've played Kirby in the Forgotten Land, you know where I'm going with this. Thanks to mouthful modes, Kirby can now inhale objects like cars, rings, and archways to transform and enhance his movement. This allows Kirby to soar over gaps, sail over water, and glide through canyons. Astro can jump into spring suits to clear gaps, monkey suits to climb cliff sides, and rocket suits to propel his way through perilous corridors. I don't want to fire shots at HAL Laboratory, but when you consider the order of the releases, some inspiration may have occurred. Just think of what Team Asobi could do to the general combat of Astro games with a little inspiration of their own. Astro could modify his robot body with electric abilities, laser abilities, pop gun abilities, etc., and combat could be elevated. That may seem like an insignificant comparison, but for Kirby in the Forgotten Land, this is the gameplay mechanic HAL Laboratory went with to elevate traversal in the 3D space. People love it so much that I would bet dollars to donuts that they return to the well in a sequel. All Astro would have to do to remind everyone who did it first is expand upon the idea and implement it in an even more charming way. However, there aren't only tonal and gameplay resemblances between these two characters and their games. Kirby and Astro also share genre flexibility that is unique to their respective consoles. Let's take a look at Kirby's range historically, as well as Astro's potential to continue doing the same. Kirby has been in games spanning myriad genres, from action platformers to pinball games and even fighting games. HAL Laboratory has even experimented with the franchise to take advantage of new technologies. They released Kirby's Toy Box for the Super Famicom's Satellaview in 1996, which allowed players to play satellite broadcast minigames, as well as Kirby Canvas Curse for the Nintendo DS in 2005, which required the use of the new touchscreen. Astros just getting started, but already made the leap from augmented reality with 2013's The Playroom to virtual reality with 2018's Astrobot Rescue Mission. Most recently, he was the PlayStation 5 pack-in game in the 3D platformer Astro's Playroom. However, I think he's capable of more. If Sony were to continue establishing Astro's presence in virtual reality while expanding into other genres, Astro could become a mainstay, especially with children. I look at a game like Kirby and the Forgotten Land and don't see why Astro's Playroom can't be expanded to something of the same scale. Something like an Astro's Playground or something to that effect. When you see Sackboy getting his own game with Sackboy A Big Adventure, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that Astro could get a 10 to 12 hour game someday. Recently, Kirby and the Forgotten Land's game director, Shinya Kumazaki, stated that he believes Kirby still has unlimited potential. I too believe that, but I also believe that that potential extends to Team Asobi's Astro. But we'll just have to wait and see, I suppose. I revisited Astro's Playroom right after finishing Kirby and the Forgotten Land. The similarities between these two characters, and those two games in particular, are kind of amazing. I believe PlayStation could have a new mascot on their hands if handled properly, one that may even stand out amongst their competition. Honestly, I enjoyed my time playing Kirby's latest outing, and I think it's a good game. I also know that I'm not alone in thinking that, but it felt more like a $40 game to me rather than a $60 game. Its story lacks depth, and despite being charming, it's not a very long game. I beat it in about 10 hours and will likely never revisit it. I don't want to sound rude, but Kirby and the Forgotten Land didn't feel like a AAA game either. Looking at what Ember Lab did with Kena Bridge of Spirits, and then back at HAL Laboratory's latest effort, I can't help but do so with some side-eye. Astro's Playroom is more technically impressive than Kirby and the Forgotten Land from a graphical and performance standpoint, not to mention it was essentially given away for free. The tone of the game and level structure is so similar to Kirby and the Forgotten Land that I can't help but wonder, what if the Astro's Playroom experience was expanded into a 10 to 12 hour game and only cost $40? That would be a no-brainer in my opinion. If Insomniac can do that with Ratchet & Clank 2016, why can't Team Asobi? But what do I know? I'm just a humble fan with an opinion. What do you think? Does Astro have what it takes to fill a Kirby-sized hole for PlayStation? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for your time and attention, it means the world to me. If you enjoy videos like this, subscribe to the channel. I make retrospectives, reviews, and opinion pieces just like this. I also host and produce a weekly Nintendo-centric podcast called Me, Myself, and I that you may want to check out here or on podcast services. Again, thank you for your time and support, lead with love, and stay hydrated.